The last time I saw my parents, I was standing in our driveway with two hastily packed suitcases, watching them throw away my medical school acceptance letter. Harvard Medical School? My father had sneered, ripping the envelope to shreds. What an embarrassment. No daughter of mine is going to waste her life being some low-paid doctor when she could be running the family business. That was 8 years ago. Now, as I sit in my office at Saint Augustine Memorial Hospital, looking at the director's nameplate on my desk, Dr. Chen, hospital director, I can't help but think about how wrong they were. The Chen family had been in real estate development for 3 generations. My father, Richard Chen, built luxury condos and office towers. My older brother, David, followed in his footsteps, learning the business from the ground up. And I was supposed to be the perfect daughter who would marry one of our competitors' sons and secure a profitable merger. Instead, I chose medicine. You'll be nothing but a glorified nurse, my mother had said that final night, her voice dripping with disdain. While your brother builds skyscrapers, you'll be changing bedpans. I want to help people, I tried to explain. Make a difference in their lives. Help people. My father had laughed bitterly. You want to embarrass us. That's what this is about. Rejecting your heritage, throwing away everything we built. The argument had escalated quickly. When I refused to tear up my acceptance letter myself, when I insisted on following my own path, they'd made their decision. You're an embarrassment, they'd screamed. Get out. And don't come back until you've given up this ridiculous dream. I never went back. Harvard Medical School wasn't easy, especially without family support. I worked part-time jobs, took out loans, and studied until my eyes burned. But I excelled. Graduated top of my class. Completed my residency at Massachusetts General Hospital, where I discovered I had a talent not just for medicine but for administration. You think like a CO, my mentor Dr. Harrison had told me. You see both the medical and business sides of healthcare. That's rare. He was right. While other doctors focused solely on patient care, which was vital of course, I saw the bigger picture. How to make the hospital run more efficiently. How to improve both patient outcomes and the bottom line. By 32, I was the youngest hospital director in Saint Augustine Memorial's history. My innovations in hospital management had been featured in medical journals. The programs I'd implemented had saved countless lives and millions of dollars. And my family? They had no idea. I'd kept tabs on them, of course. The Chen real estate group was still successful, still building luxury properties across the city. David had taken over as CEO when our father semi-retired. They still lived in the same mansion, still moved in the same social circles. Still thought I was a failure. I knew because they never missed a chance to tell people about their disappointment of a daughter. At charity events, business functions, anywhere they could spread the story of how I'd abandoned the family business to become a mere doctor. What they didn't know was that I'd transformed Saint Augustine Memorial from a struggling community hospital into one of the top medical centers in the state. That my management style had become a case study at leading business schools. That I controlled a $500 million annual budget and managed over 3,000 employees. They didn't know because they'd never bothered to check. Never tried to contact me. Never cared enough to see what had become of their embarrassment of a daughter. Then came the night that changed everything. I was in my office reviewing plans for a new cardiac care wing, when my assistant Sarah burst in. Dr. Chen, she said, her face pale. There's been an accident. Your parents, they're being brought to the ER. My hand froze over the blueprints. What kind of accident? Car crash. Multiple vehicles. Your father's in critical condition. Your mother's stable but needs surgery. They're 5 minutes out. I stood up slowly, my mind racing. 8 years of silence, of judgment, of being the family embarrassment, and now they were coming to my hospital. Coming to the place where I held not just medical authority, but absolute administrative power. Dr. Chen. Sarah watched me carefully. Should I tell them you're here? I looked at my desk, at the newspaper article framed on my wall. Saint Augustine Memorial ranks #1 in patient care under new director. My parents had probably never seen it. Never cared to look. No, I said finally. Don't tell them. Not yet. I picked up my white coat and stethoscope. Have Dr. Marshall handle my father's case. Dr. Williams for my mother. Tell them I'll be observing, but I don't want my name mentioned. And if they need administrative approval for any special procedures? Sarah asked. Your father's injuries sound extensive. They'll need the director's sign-off. I smiled grimly. Then they'll have to ask for it. Won't they? As I walked toward the ear, I could hear the approaching sirens. 8 years ago they'd thrown me out for choosing medicine over real estate. Now their lives might depend on the hospital I ran, the staff I managed, the decisions I made. Sometimes karma has a twisted sense of humor. The ER doors burst open and I watched from the observation room as they wheeled my father in, my mother running alongside the gurney, her face streaked with tears and mascara. She looked older than I remembered, more fragile. Please, I heard her begging the nurses. My husband, he's Richard Chen. Surely you know who he is. He needs the best care. I picked up my father's chart, reading the preliminary assessment. Multiple fractures. Internal bleeding. Possible spinal injury. He'd need immediate surgery, specialized care, and I checked the insurance information attached to his file. My eyebrows rose slightly. Their insurance carrier wasn't on our approved list. Any major procedures would need direct administrative approval. Dr. Marshall approached my mother, his expression grave. Mrs. Chen, your husband needs emergency surgery. However, there's a small complication with your insurance. Complication? My mother's voice rose hysterically. Do you know who we are? Just bill us directly. Money is no object. I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen, but it's not that simple. Hospital policy requires director approval for out-of-network emergency procedures. We'll need to contact Dr. Chen. My mother cut him off. Did you say Chen? Yes, Dr. Marshall nodded. Dr. Emma Chen, our hospital director. We'll need her authorization before we can proceed. I watched as my mother's face went completely white, as recognition and realization dawned in her eyes. After 8 years of calling me an embarrassment, after 8 years of mocking my choice to become just a doctor, she was about to learn exactly what that choice had meant. And she was about to learn it in the worst possible way. I watched through the observation window as my mother sank into a waiting room chair, her designer dress stained with my father's blood. She kept whispering my name over and over as if trying to make sense of it. Dr. Chen. Sarah peered at my side. Your father's scans are back. It's worse than we thought. He needs immediate neurosurgery. I reviewed the images, my medical training overriding any personal feelings. Subdural hematoma. Spinal fractures. Internal bleeding. Without immediate intervention he could die or face permanent paralysis. Page Dr. Rodriguez, I said. He's the best neurosurgeon we have. He's not on call tonight, Sarah reminded me. We'd have to bring him in specially. That requires director approval, given the additional costs. Of course it did. I'd written that policy myself, designed to prevent abuse of hospital resources. Now it meant my father's life literally required my signature. Mrs. Chen. Dr. Marshall approached my mother again. We need to contact the hospital director immediately. Do you know Dr. Emma Chen? My mother's laugh was hollow, hysterical. Know her? He's my daughter. My daughter who we haven't seen in 8 years because she chose this over her family's business. And now. She broke down completely. I straightened my white coat and stepped out of the observation room. It was time. Hello, Mother. She looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. For a moment she just stared as if seeing a ghost. Emma, she whispered. Emma, please, your father needs emergency neurosurgery, I finished professionally. Yes, I've reviewed his scans. The procedure he requires is complex and expensive. Our top neurosurgeon would need to be called in specially. Then call him. She stood up, her voice rising. Money is no object. We can pay whatever it costs. Like you paid for my medical school? I kept my voice calm, clinical. Or did you forget telling me I was throwing my life away by becoming just a doctor? Emma, please, she grabbed my arm. This isn't the time for old grievances. Your father could die. I gently removed her hand. This isn't about grievances, Mother. This is about hospital policy. The same policies I wrote as director. The same position you thought was beneath our family's dignity. I was wrong, she burst out. We were wrong. Is that what you want to hear? Please, Emma, save him. I looked at her carefully. Wrong about what, exactly? About medicine being beneath us? About me being an embarrassment? Or just wrong about who would have power over whom? Before she could answer, Dr. Marshall rushed over. Dr. Chen, his pressure's dropping. We need a decision about Dr. Rodriguez now. I pulled out my tablet where the authorization form waited for my signature. One swipe of my finger could save my father's life. Or I could let someone else handle it, let him face the consequences of standard care protocols. Do you know what the hardest part of medical school was, Mother? I asked, my finger hovering over the screen. It wasn't the study hours or the student loans. It was knowing my own family thought I was worthless for choosing to save lives instead of build condos. Emma. She whispered. Dr. Chen, I corrected her. In this hospital I'm Dr. Chen. The embarrassment of a daughter who became director of one of the top medical centers in the state. The failure who manages a $500 million budget and over 3,000 employees. The disappointment who could either save father's life right now or let protocol take its course. Her face crumpled. I'm sorry, she said, and for the first time in my life, I heard genuine remorse in her voice. We were wrong. So terribly wrong. You're not an embarrassment. You never were. Please save him. I signed the authorization. Page Dr. Rodriguez. I told Dr. Marshall. Tell him to come in immediately. I'm authorizing whatever resources he needs. Everything moved quickly after that. Dr. Rodriguez arrived within 20 minutes. The surgery took 6 hours. I monitored everything from my office, reviewing every decision, every procedure. Around midnight, David arrived, bursting into the waiting room in an expensive suit, clearly rushed from some business dinner. Emma? He stopped short when he saw me. You're really here? Really, the director? Hello, David, I said calmly. Father's in surgery. Dr. Rodriguez is one of the best neurosurgeons in the country. I called him in specially. David ran his hands through his hair, looking lost. I don't understand. All these years they said you were throwing your life away. But you're running this whole hospital. Surprising what someone can accomplish when they follow their own path instead of someone else's expectations. The surgery was successful. Father would need extensive rehabilitation, but he would walk again. Would regain full function. A miracle, the nurses called it. The kind of outcome only possible with immediate access to top specialists and resources. The kind of outcome only possible because the daughter they'd thrown away had become someone with the power to make it happen. 3 days later I finally visited his room. He was awake, alert, although weak. Mother sat beside him, holding his hand. They both looked up when I entered. Emma. Father's voice was hoarse. The nurses, they tell me you saved my life. That you brought in the best surgeon, authorized everything. I did my job, I said simply. As hospital director, it's my responsibility to ensure the best possible care for all patients. Director, he repeated the word softly. My daughter, the hospital director. We never knew, never bothered to find out. You didn't want to know, I corrected him. It was easier to believe I was a failure than admit I succeeded without following your path. Mother spoke up, her voice quiet. Will you ever forgive us? I looked at them both. My father in his hospital bed, my mother with her smeared makeup and wrinkled clothes. They looked smaller somehow. Less intimidating than the parents who'd thrown me out 8 years ago. I forgave you a long time ago, I said finally. That's why I signed the authorization. That's why I called in Dr. Rodriguez. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back. We'd like to try, Father said. To understand your world. To be part of it if you'll let us. I picked up his chart, checking his latest vitals. Your recovery will take months. Physical therapy, follow-up appointments, regular checkups. You'll be spending a lot of time in my hospital. Your hospital, Mother repeated, a note of pride in her voice that I'd never heard before. Our daughter's hospital. Yes, I agreed. My hospital. Where I'm not an embarrassment or a disappointment. I'm Dr. Chen, the director. Remember that. I walked out of his room, my white coat swishing against my legs, the click of my heels echoing down the corridor I'd worked so hard to walk. Sometimes life comes full circle. Sometimes the child they called an embarrassment becomes the adult who holds their life in her hands. And sometimes, just sometimes, that's exactly what it takes for them to finally see you. A month later, I received an invitation to dinner at my parents' house. Attached was a newspaper clipping. An article about Saint Augustine Memorial's innovative programs under my leadership. They'd finally started paying attention. I sent back a brief response. Can't make dinner. Too busy running my hospital. But you're welcome to schedule an appointment with the director's office. I hear she's quite good at what she does. After all, I wasn't just their daughter anymore. I was Dr. Emma Chen, hospital director. And that title meant more than any they'd tried to force on me. They'd called me an embarrassment for choosing medicine. Now they called me for medical care. Funny how life works out sometimes.